It's time for another 31 Days of Horror 2016 Toronto After Dark Film Festival video! Yes, this time we are going to the world of sequels. Yeah, don't get too many sequels at the festival, but we've got the sequel to Stakelander 2, aka the Stakelander. Now, I have a confession. I have never seen Stakelander. I've been wanting to get around to it, and I may own it. I don't know. And I didn't know the sequel was coming up in the festival until it was almost too late. I was planning on just dropping $10 and such and buying the Blu-ray and getting it in from like Amazon or something, and hopefully getting it in and putting that in for the 31 Days of Horror, and trying to do it just so I'd see it before, but I didn't get around to it. So I went into Stakelander 2 without seeing the first one. So I was a little lost in that regards. I didn't know what it was about other than vampires. So, if you haven't seen Stakelander, maybe you don't want to watch this video, because I will be giving stuff away that I don't know. I haven't seen the first film, so I don't know if it's important or not. So, what do we know about Stakelander? Well, like I said, it is the sequel of Stakelander. It is directed by a duo, Dan Burke and Robert Olson, who had partnered together previously on a film called Body. Neither of them really has much in terms of directing stuff going on, but they do have a few things where they've produced a few items here and there. The big thing for Stakelander is the return of the main guy, Mr. Played by Nick D'Amici, who is also the writer, and he's also a producer, and he was the writer, producer, and played Mr. in the first film. So he's back, as is essentially Connor Paolo playing the role of Martin again. And if you don't know Connor, he is Declan Porter in the series Revenge, if you ever watched that. But he was also from Camp Hell. He played Jack, in case you saw that. But yeah, most people are going to know him from Stakelander. That's here. I mean, if you've seen Stakelander, hopefully you. I know I didn't see it. I'm sorry. The big addition to this one is the addition of the Canadian Laura Ambrinson, who plays essentially a mute feral girl in this film. I can't really say what it is. She hasn't really been in a lot of other stuff. She was in Wolf Cop as a reporter. She will be in another Wolf Cop as a reporter. But essentially, yeah, this would be probably one of her biggest roles. And I would say outside of Nick D'Amici playing Mr., she is right up there as being one of the best things about the film, really. Her performance as a a mutant, not a mutant, a mute feral girl is just is quite well done, really well done, considering she's an unknown and doesn't have much to go with, and she doesn't have any words. It's all trying to get her thoughts and processes across without doing anything other than motions and facial expressions and such like that for the most part. But yeah, so again, we have like I said, Connor Paolo's back. His acting is I don't know. I'm guessing it's just the same from Stakelander. So if you've seen that, I didn't care much for him in this film, but it is what it is. I really didn't like him at the beginning, and he kind of grew on me as it went along, and he still fit with the film and such. So I guess he grew on me, you could say. Of course, there's a bunch of other people as well, but nothing really to talk about. So I guess if you haven't seen Stakelander, you don't exactly know what it's about, right? Like Stakelander. essentially this is a post-apocalyptic world where vampires are reality, and they are out killing things, and essentially humans are rare. And in this sequel to Stakelander, Martin, as essentially he has found a life in New Eden. I don't know if this is a direct continuation of where it left off in Stakelander or not, because I haven't seen it. But New Eden is essentially destroyed by a new, super vamp leader type thing. And Martin is essentially he's looking for revenge. He's by himself, alone, and he's kind of getting these flashbacks, moments where it's Mister is there trying to guide him along his way, and then eventually he finds Mister. So yeah, it is, it's actually quite short. At least I thought it was. I don't know what the runtime is on it, but I found it to be kind of on the it lacked a little bit of body. It didn't really have. It wasn't a full. It wasn't really fulfilling in terms of a, meatiness. Like, there wasn't a lot going for it. It is essentially an adventure journey type film where your main character is going on this journey, partly for revenge, partly to find his old mentor. And it has very much, and look, of course, there's a lot of post-apocalyptic things going on. I think even with the runtime could have been longer. I think they could have done with less sort of flashbacky type sequences and more of just, yes, I haven't seen the first film, so I guess the flashbacks kind of help me, but I just felt they weren't necessary. They could have done the film without them. And that's what I think. What part of the problem is, because I haven't seen the first film, I don't know how many of these were actually from the first film, or how many of them were produced specifically for this film. And for me, I felt, it was just a little weird. Production wise, this is a low budget film. It doesn't have great production values. But I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be all bad. It is somewhat enjoyable. I mean, you do get some action sequences and some vampire killing and such. But it's not like Blade or anything like that. Don't get that through your head. It's it's post-apocalyptic. So think a Mad Maxy type feel to it. Very desolate. Not a lot out there in terms of resources and such. And humanity is sort of, dealing with vampires, right? So they've got these feral type vampires, and then you get some ones that are a little bit more intelligent. Like I said, there's new vamp leader. And I don't know, the film kind of feels like it goes nowhere, and I think that's part of the problem with it. It doesn't really have a path. You have a journey, but it seems like you get to, you've got the aspect of revenge, and you've got the aspect of Mister. Well, he finds Mister. So that portion of the journey's gone. So now it's revenge, but then you're like, well, how is he going to get this revenge, right? We're talking about somebody who's leading vampires, and that's part of the problem with the film. Is, even Mister says, is like, what are you going to do? Like, you're just going to run out there and die? Because that's what'll happen, right? Like, so it just seems like a lost cause, and you don't really have this drive forward that you would normally have with a journey type film, an adventure journey, something along those lines, right? I don't know if have you seen the film The Road? it felt similar to that. Again, that's another post-apocalyptic thing where it's just sort of a journey type thing, and you just kind of feel lost. And I think the Stakelander kind of had that feeling of lost, and maybe that's what they were going for. And if it was, hey, kudos. But I think I was looking for more direction and more of a path, set out path, rather than just sort of wandering. But yeah, it's not a bad film. It's not. Maybe my, everybody, because Stakeland got, a lot of people were big up on Stakeland, which is one of the reasons why I really want to see it. And then it got a sequel, right? So maybe my hopes were too high. I don't know. I didn't know what it was about. So I kind of guessed that it was about vampires, but I didn't know anything else about it. So honestly, I was, and maybe this is it. My hopes were up, and then the movie started, and it was clear that we weren't going to be getting a gorgeously shot film with great acting and all this kind of stuff. I knew, it was clear that this was going to be a low budget affair, and so immediately I was kind of let down. My expectations weren't met, and I think that was part of my problem. If I had seen Stakeland first and then saw this, I think things might have gone a little bit differently. But I had that feeling right from the get-go, like first 5 minutes, and I was like, ugh. But like I said, the film tended to grow on me, just like, some of the acting involved. And yeah, it's far from good, but it's still enjoyable. I'm gonna guess that fans of Stakeland will enjoy Stakelander, though it probably is, not as good as the first film. Again, I'm guessing. I'm gonna say that fans of the first film will be very happy to see, actors and characters return, and I'm thinking there were a few others in this film, just by watching it, that may have been in the first film, but I'm not too sure. I kind of got the impression that they were, but who knows, right? It really, it really is hard to go into a sequel without having seen the first film and give a proper review or critique of the film, because you don't know what you were supposed to get. You don't know what people are expecting. You don't know. You just know that this is what you saw, right? And if this is just more of the same of what Stakeland was, and people enjoyed that, then Stakelander is exactly what you're looking for. But I don't have that first film to compare to. I don't have any notes that I can just be like, oh yeah, this is what the first film was about, and what it had going for it, and how it looked, and the acting, etc. All I can go is by what I've seen with this film, and it has some good scenes, a little cliche for some of them. Actually, there's a lot of cliche, a lot of stuff you've probably seen in other films and done better, but still, I mean, it is what it is, considering this is a very, very low budget film. It makes me want to watch Stakeland just so I have that comparison to see where it goes, and then I'd want to watch Stakelander again just so I can watch it the way it's supposed to be watched in order. But yeah, I don't know. I honestly, guys, I can't tell you if this is a film that you're going to enjoy. If you saw Stakeland, if this was a standalone film, I think it would be rather on the low end side, but I'm giving it a couple of marks up, simply because I think a lot of what I'm not really into in the film has to do because it's a sequel and they're trying to, pull from the first film and relate it to it. So you have that, other than just the characters, I think they're trying to get you, like, kind of explain it. Here's the film, it's a recap, if you will, right? And I think that's what's going on with portions of this film. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. But if I had to give it a something out of 5, I'd say it's about a 2.5 out of 5. Like I said, it's got moments that are good, moments that are bad, scenes that are good, scenes that are bad, scenes that are very, very familiar because we've seen it been done before. And then there's some stuff that's a little bit new, but it never really treads into any territory that's really, new or amazing. And maybe that's it. Maybe this post-apocalyptic vampire world, maybe that's why Stakeland, people loved it so much. If that's what it is, hey, you get to return to it. It's just that there's not really much of it really going on in this film. Yes, it is a journey film, but you don't really get that sense of the history, other than the sense of the history of the characters. Honestly, it feels like it's just a middle section. It feels like the middle section of possibly a trilogy where you had your first film and it was, an introduction to everything. Then you had your second film, which was kind of bridging the gap between the first film and the last film, which sort of wraps everything up. But will there be a third film? I don't know. I don't think there would. I don't see there being a third film, but it's possible. But yes, the Stakelander seems incomplete. It seems lost in the middle. It seems like maybe that's the feeling they were going. Maybe they were going for a feeling of lost, and that's permeated throughout the film. I don't know. I'm going to give it a recommend for anybody who's seen Stakeland. If you haven't seen Stakeland, then wait until you've seen Stakeland, because you'll probably end up feeling like me and being a little lost and watching it. Yes, you can watch it and have the story play out, but you just feel like you're missing something, and the film feels incomplete as a result, I guess. That's how I would have to describe it. So there you go. The Stakelander reviewed from the Toronto After Dark Film Festival for 31 Days of Horror 2016. Thanks for watching. Till next video, take care. Have a good one.